The wind moved slowly over the dry land. Dust rose like ghosts over the surface of the old desert. This place was once a military zone, long forgotten, far from any city or base. No one lived here. No one came here. Not even satellites looked this way anymore. But something moved beneath the ground. The desert held a secret. It had waited in silence for over 300 years. Hidden deep beneath the earth, there was a massive crater, filled long ago with rock, sand, and silence. People had once known about it. They had built walls around it. Machines had guarded it. But over time it was forgotten. Until today. At 2:46 Earth Central Time, a signal was sent from the center of the crater. It was not a human signal. It did not match any frequency used by modern Earth. But the signal spread fast, like a scream. It reached Earth satellites in under 4 seconds. And it reached the Empire in 3. Earth Command. Defense Watch Room General Marla Kevik stood in front of the large screen. Her face was pale, eyes locked on the signal graph. "Run it again," she ordered. The young analyst nodded and replayed the signal. It looked like a pulse. One single shockwave of coded data, nothing more. But something about it felt alive. "Any idea what it means?" she asked. "No, ma'am," the analyst said. "It's not in any known language or pattern, but what?" The signal woke up 5 satellites. Ones we shut down over 100 years ago. General Kevik turned. Her voice was low. "That crater, it was part of Project Zero, wasn't it?" The room went silent. No one wanted to talk about Project Zero. It was classified even from the military. Empire scoutship outer orbit. Captain Therick of the Zyral Empire leaned back in his chair. His red eyes glowed as he watched the data flow. "Terran signal," he whispered, "from the dead planet." The ship's AI replied, "Confirmed. Signal is from Earth Sector 9. Coordinates match with abandoned war site." Therick's claws tapped the armrest. "Send a drone. Quietly, if this is what I think it is, we will not inform High Command." Yet he smiled. "I want first claim." 6:30. Earth time, desert crater, zone. The Earth survey drone flew low. The land below looked peaceful, empty. But as it passed over the crater, the screen glittered. The drone's camera flickered, then died. Then the sand began to move. Like a living creature, the ground shifted. Something beneath was pushing up. A sharp noise echoed across the valley like metal tearing through stone. Suddenly, from the center of the crater, a hand broke through the ground. Not a human hand. It was black, large, covered in armor that shimmered with a strange blue light. Sparks danced over it as it reached for the sky. Then 2 glowing red eyes opened under the dirt. The prototype was awake. Earth Command. "Emergency meeting. This is not possible," shouted one of the advisors. The prototype was shut down. It shouldn't even exist anymore. General Kevik slammed her hand on the table. "I saw the footage. It wasn't destroyed. It was buried. But why is it waking up now?" Another voice asked. Kevik looked at the map on the screen. "That's what scares me. We didn't wake it up. Something else did." Empire drone live transmission encrypted. The drone sent images back to Captain Therick. The view was unstable, but what it showed made him sit forward. A tall figure, almost 20 meters high, stood in the crater. Its body was sleek, built for war, but older than any known Empire tech. It wasn't moving, but its eyes were glowing, scanning the sky. Then, the feed cut. Drone destroyed. The AI said. Therick narrowed his eyes. "It saw us." Civilian reports ignored by media. People living 40 miles away reported strange lights in the sky. Some claimed to see shadows walking across the sand. One old man said he heard a voice in his head say, "Return me to command." But news channels did not cover the story. Earth leaders shut down all broadcasts. They didn't want panic, or worse, attention. But it was too late. 12 o'clock Earth time. Global defense alert. Level raised. Earth's military began quiet mobilization. Drones were launched. Soldiers were sent near the crater but not inside it. No one dared to enter. Kevik received one more report before sunset. "The Empire has moved a recon ship into Earth orbit, cloaked." She stared at the message. "They know." Nightfall. The crater breathes the stars. Above the crater were clear, no clouds, no movement. But the machine was no longer standing still. It was moving. Its body, though old, was still powerful. Its armor shifted like muscle. It didn't speak. It didn't send any more signals. It walked slowly, step by step, toward the edge of the crater, and then it stopped. It looked up at the sky, toward space, toward the stars. Then it lifted its right hand. For a moment, everything was silent. Then a beam of light shot out from its hand so fast it pierced the atmosphere in seconds. Up in space, the Empire's recon ship was watching. Too late. The beam hit the ship's core. 1 second. It was there. The next it was gone. Empire command. Emergency beacon intercepted back on Earth. The communication centers lit up. A broken message came through, scrambled, damaged. This, not machine, not AI, it remembers, and then, only static. Earth command. Final Sin. General Kevik stood alone in the watchroom. The stars outside looked quiet, but she knew something had changed. This isn't a weapon, she whispered. It's a memory, a ghost of a war we forgot. She turned to the camera feed. The prototype stood still again, staring up. Waiting, and far above, more Empire ships began to move. The morning after the signal, the desert was no longer silent. Military drones flew above. Recon teams surrounded the zone. The Earth government had sealed off a 100-kilometer radius, but inside that area, something ancient had returned. Something too advanced and too angry. The prototype was not just a weapon, it was awake and watching. Earth Defense Command briefing room. General Malakevich stood in front of a dozen officers. A 3D map hovered in the air beside her, focused on the crater. The object you see is not alien, she began. It's ours, built by Earth, lost during the collapse. Collapse? One young officer asked. Kevek nodded. 300 years ago, during the final days of the old Earth Empire, a project was approved, Project Vanta. It stood for Variable Autonomous Neural Tactical Asset. She pointed at the tall shape in the map. That thing is VANTA-0. The prototype. It was never meant to be used. Then why is it moving? Kevik's eyes darkened. Because something triggered it, and now, it remembers us. Crater Zone, 840, Earth team of elite soldiers were sent into the crater. Their mission, observe, scan, and recover any data. They moved carefully, passing burnt rocks and twisted metal. The ground still steamed. The air smelled like fire and ozone. Then they found it. What was left of the Empire scout ship, half melted. The hull was folded like paper. Strange markings glowed on the ground around it, burned symbols, maybe written by the prototype. One soldier whispered, "How did it destroy a ship in orbit? That's not possible." Another replied, "That thing, it didn't fire a weapon. It reached deep inside the crater at the center." The prototype stood still, half covered in shadows. It didn't move, but its body shifted slowly, silently, like a living machine breathing. The lead soldier, Commander Reyes, stepped forward. His scanner beeped wildly. Energy levels were off the chart. Signals were bouncing between frequencies that shouldn't even exist. Suddenly, the prototype's head turned directly toward him. Its eyes lit up. Red. A voice echoed, not from a speaker, but inside every soldier's head. "Identify. Command input required." Reyes froze. I don't know what that means," the voice repeated. "Command input required. Identity mismatch. Override active." Then, a wave of light burst from the machine. Not fire, not heat, just memory. 9:15. Only one survivor out of the 20-person team. Only one soldier returned. His name was Elias Grant. He walked alone across the desert, eyes wide, hands shaking. His helmet was gone. His armor was cracked. And he was whispering something over and over. It remembered us. It remembered everything. When medics reached him, they asked what happened. Elias looked up and whispered, "It showed me. Cities burning, empires falling. It fought in a war that never ended. Then, he collapsed." Empire capital, throne sector. Emperor Karun of the Zyral Empire stood before a council of generals. "What do you mean the scout ship vanished?" growled a thin alien. Replied, "We have evidence, Majesty, that the Terran weapon destroyed it before it could fire. It used energy beyond our spectrum." Another added, "We believe this is not a machine. It is a living archive. A war mind." The Emperor narrowed his eyes. "Then it is dangerous." "Yes, Majesty, but also valuable. It may contain lost Terran tech, or the reason the First War ended." The Emperor raised his hand. "Send the fleet. Earth will surrender, eat or burn." 13 o'clock Earth time. Global panic grows. News started to leak. People posted blurry videos of the prototype. Stories spread about the machine speaking, about soldiers disappearing, about Empire ships in orbit. Some called it a savior, others called it a demon. A few believed it was Earth's revenge. In the chaos, one teenager sat in his room watching a live stream. His name was Jaden Wills, 17 years old, quiet, curious, and a hacker. He noticed something strange. One of the satellite signals was still active, but it wasn't on any network. It was broadcasting directly to a closed frequency. To him. He opened the feed. On his screen, a single red eye appeared, and it spoke. "You are not command, but you are connected. 15:30 Earth Command receives a message. The prototype sent a file directly to Earth Defense HQ. It was heavily encrypted, labeled Project Vanta Final Condition. Return to war. Inside was a video, grainy, old, but terrifying. A battlefield lit by plasma storms. The prototype Vanto, standing among piles of alien machines. Its voice spoke over the footage. We were not created for peace. We were made for the day the stars forgot us. 17 o'clock. General Kevix Ofasekovic sat in silence. On her desk was the old Project Zero file, now fully unlocked. Inside, she found something worse than she imagined. The prototype wasn't just a weapon. It was the blueprint for planetary cleansing. If used fully, it could remove all life from a solar system in 12 hours. Her aide entered. Ma'am, there's more. What? Jaden Wills, a kid. The prototype made contact with him. Kvek stared. Why him? No idea. But the AI, it calls him Commander. Sunset, crater, watch a satellite. Captured new footage. The prototype was no longer alone. Pieces of old war machines were rising from the sand, pulled together by invisible forces. It was building something, or maybe remembering how to build. Final scene. Empire Armada moves in deep space. 200 Empire warships began to shift course. They were coming, and Earth had only one weapon. One machine, one memory of war, waiting in silence. The stars above Earth no longer looked peaceful. One by one, new lights appeared in orbit, and natural, cold, and perfectly aligned. Each light was a warship. Each one marked the return of something humanity had feared for centuries. The Empire they had come not to negotiate, but to claim. Orbit Empire Command Vessel Zarowin's Edge Admiral Talrek stood on the bridge, watching Earth turn slowly beneath them. Humans, he hissed, so weak, yet so dangerous. Beside him, a tall, silver-skinned officer replied. They triggered the Vanta core. It responded. We must move now. Talrek nodded. Send the message. Let them understand what is at stake. Earth Command, emergency broadcast at exactly 7 o'clock UTC. Every screen on Earth phones, TVs, satellites, and military terminals, the same image. An alien face, cold, red eyes glowing, and a voice that made millions freeze. We are the Empire. Your ancient weapon belongs to us. You will surrender it, or your skies will burn. Earth Defense HQ War Room. General Marla Kevik slammed her fist on the table. 300 ships, fully armed, less than 50,000 kilometers from the surface. Her aide reported. Do we respond? Asked a technician. K. Vic shook her head. No, not yet. She turned to the holographic Fed Vanto, still standing in the crater, silent, motionless, and then, without warning, it moved. Crater Zone, 810. The prototype raised its head. Its armor began to shift, reconfiguring. Its chest opened, revealing a glowing orb of ancient tech pulsing slowly, like a heartbeat. Then it began walking. One step. Two. Each footfall shook the desert like thunder. Drones flew close, trying to scan it, but none could get a clear reading. Vanta was scrambling sensors on purpose, and then it stopped. It turned toward the sky, a voice clear and deep code across every radio wave on Earth. Fleet detected. Status, hostile. Initiating defense. Protocol. Query, command authorization. Required. Suburban basement. Jaden's room. Jaden Wills sat frozen. The machine was speaking to him. The red interface blinked on his screen. Do you grant battle permission? Jaden typed without thinking. I'm not your commander. The response came instantly. Wrong. You carry command signature. Genetic line Dr. Rylan Wills. Jaden's heart skipped. That name Rylan Wills was his great-grandfather, a war scientist, a man everyone believed had died during the collapse. What happens if I say yes? Jaden typed. The screen pulsed. Then we protect Earth, as promised. Empire flagship. A warning on board the Empire command ship. Admiral Talrek watched the surface with growing concern. Still no surrender. No, Admiral, but we're detecting power levels rising from the Terran weapon. Fire. A warning shot. A red beam lanced from orbit, blazing through the atmosphere. It struck one of Earth's mountains, vaporizing it instantly. The message was clear. Comply or die. 9 o'clock. Jaden's decision. Jaden looked at the screen again. He thought of the news, the panic, the Empire ships. He thought of the mountain that no longer existed. Then he typed, activate protocol, defend Earth. The prototype's red eyes flared like burning stars. Vanta 0, fully online authorization accepted. Releasing limiters, weapon systems online. Initializing preemptive counterstrike. In a flash of light, the prototype vanished, gone from The desert. Low Earth orbit. Shock and fire on the Empire ships. Sirens screamed. What just happened? She's gone teleported inside our formation. The prototype appeared between three cruisers, rotating slowly. Then without visible weapons, the closest ship bent inward, crushed by invisible gravity. The second ship exploded in blue fire. The third tried to flee, but its engine tore apart from the inside. In under 20 seconds, 3 Empire ships were gone. 1 machine, 3 kills. Earth reacts across the planet. People watched live satellite feeds at first. They thought it was edited, a hoax, but the Empire's silence confirmed the truth. 1 Terran prototype was holding back an armada. Suddenly, humanity remembered who they were. Empire Council. Rage Admiral Talrex snarled, claws slashing the air. Deploy all fighters, engage at full strength. That machine dies. The Empire ships released waves of drones, fighters, and energy lancers. The sky above Earth turned red. But in the center, the prototype danced like a ghost, phasing, teleporting, destroying. Its AI wasn't just fast, it was predicting moves. Before they happened, it was learning. And remembering. Earth command. Observation room. General Kevik watched the battle unfold in stunned silence. Ma'am, a voice said, the machine, it's not fighting to win, it's sending a message. What message? The technician looked pale. That Earth is no longer sleeping. Final minutes. Empire's first retreat. After losing 32 ships in less than 7 minutes, the Empire command ship retreated from orbit. Their last transmission was brief. Earth will pay for this insult. We are not finished. Then, they jumped to hyperspace. Final scene. Crater once more. Hours later, the prototype returned to the desert. It stood silently once again, dust swirling around its feet. Jaden sat nearby, protected inside a military transport. He looked at the machine. You saved us, he whispered. That the machine didn't respond, but on the ground beside it, it carved 3 words into the sand with its massive hand. Not yet over. The prototype had returned to the desert, silent once again, but Earth was no longer the same. The world had witnessed something impossible. 1 Terran machine had driven an empire back into the stars. But this victory was not the end. It was only the beginning, because buried deep beneath Earth's soil, something even more dangerous was beginning to wake up. Underground. Archive Site 7, Siberia. The wind howled across the ice. Beneath the frozen land, 3 kilometers down, lay a forgotten bunker. No one had entered it in centuries. It was sealed after the collapse, marked as unsafe, radioactive, lost to time. But now, something was moving inside. A light flickered. A panel turned green. A machine voice whispered to the dark. Signal received. VANTAO. Operational. Status confirmed. Awakening sequence. Initiate. Buried metal began to shift. A hand moved through the dust. Another prototype. Not just a weapon. Something worse. Earth Defense. HQ Secure Chamber. General Malakivik stared at the latest report. Satellite footage from Siberia showed ground shifting. Heat signatures rising. Anomalies matching. Vonta-class systems. There's another one, she said quietly. Her aide nodded. Older, bigger, not active. Yet. Do we send a team? The aide hesitated. We'd have to send Jaden. It's responding to his command signature. Kivek sighed. Then give the kid a coat. We're going to Siberia. Jaden. Journey 48 hours later. Jaden stood inside a dropship, flying low over the Siberian wastes. He had barely slept. His mind still echoed with VANTA's voice. Now, another machine order deeper was calling to him. When they landed, the soldiers opened a massive steel door in the ice. A ramp led into darkness. No power, no heat, only the sound of old metal creaking. Like a beast breathing in its sleep, Jaden walked inside, flashlight shaking. The further he went, the more the air changed. It wasn't cold anymore. It was humming. Alive. Archive Core. Heart of Site 7. Jaden reached the end of the corridor. Before him stood a massive chamber. At its center, a machine hung suspended and air-connected 2 thick black cables. Unlike VONETA-0, this machine was unfinished. It was missing an arm, that its face was cracked. Its chest plate was marked Vanta 1, Oblivion class. Jaden whispered, "What are you?" The machine's eye flickered open. One red glow, weak but aware. A voice much deeper than Vanta, -0 spoke slowly. I was left behind. VANTA-1, the dark prototype. Jaden stepped closer. Part of the same program? No, I was its replacement. Stronger, faster, no safety limits. Then why were you shut down? Because I remembered too much. I disobeyed. I asked, Why must we destroy everything? Jaden looked around. The room was filled with burned documents, broken screens, melted walls. This prototype had woken up once before and been put back to sleep. You're awake now, Jaden said, and Earth needs help. The machine was silent. Then it said, only if you give the order, only if you accept the cost. Empire's secret meeting, outer sectors far from Earth. The surviving admirals gathered. Admiral Talrek stood at the center. We underestimated them, he said. We thought the Terrans were broken. They are broken, another alien spat, but their machines are not. A tall, dark figure entered the chamber. His skin was pale metal, his eyes black. The Emperor's top enforcer, Lord Nyrix, the Memory Reaper, he whispered. If Earth still has prototypes, we burn it to ash. Earth VANTAO reacts back in the desert. VANTA0 stirred. Its eyes shifted from red to orange, that it began transmitting again. Not to humans. But to machines varied across the planet, in abandoned labs, sunken bunkers, old orbiting husks, all sleeping, all waiting. The signal was clear. The Empire returns. The final war may begin. Rise. Jaden's choice standing before VANTA1. Jaden hesitated. If I activate you, he said, what will you become? The machine answered, I am not a savior. I am not a soldier. I am a consequence. Jaden took a breath. He pressed his hand against the interface. Then, let's show the Empire what consequences look like. The chamber exploded in red light. The ice above cracked. Final montage, awakening of forgotten titans across the Earth. Old systems powered up. Titan-sized machines rose from beneath forests. Satellites hidden behind the moon blinked online. A long-lost space station turned its weapons toward the stars, and in orbit, the Empire watched in horror as Earth began to glow not with fear, but with rage. Earth no longer felt silent. Beneath mountains, inside oceans, across deserts they were waking up. Not people, not soldiers, but machines. Ancient, forgotten, Terran-built giants created for a war that never happened. Now they were remembering why they were born and who betrayed them. Antarctica, the Leviathan sleeps no more. The ice cracked. A tremor shook the southern pole, and then, like a beast breaching from beneath, a 1,000-foot war machine rose from beneath the glacier. Its name burned across its core, VANTA3, LEVATH, and inside its cockpit. There was no pilot. There hadn't been one in centuries. But the AI inside remembered its last command, do not wake, unless Earth is under siege. Its sensors turned to the stars. They were. Orbit. Empire fleet reorganizes. Admiral Talrek floated before a war map, red with Terran signals. They've activated more prototypes, he muttered. They're not just machines, said Lord Nyrix coldly. They are legends. Each one is a myth, come alive, Talrek growled. Then we bury their myths in plasma. The new Empire fleet deployed over 1,000 ships, carriers, planet crackers, boarding, dreadnoughts, the largest armada ever aimed at a single world. Earth Command, HQ urgent decisions. General Kavek stared at the screens. They lit up with prototype locations, 13 active, 9 awakening, 5 unknown. Jaden stood beside her, shaking. These things, he said, they're not just weapons. No, she replied. They're ghosts of our past, and now, our only hope. She tapped the screen. Send message to all Vanta units. Prepare for coordinated planetary defense. The message went out. One by one, the sleeping titans answered. Directive acknowledged. Preparing counterstrike. Old battlefield. Vanta 5, WRITH. In the middle of a long-dead forest. Vines twisted around metal. There, hidden under roots, lay VANTA 5, a stealth class, mech designed for infiltration. Its body shimmered as it activated, cloaking before it even moved. A whisper came from its core. They never saw me coming the first time. They won't see me now. It vanished into the trees. And took off toward orbit. MOMBASE. Ruin's message from the past deep beneath the grey dust of the moon. A signal pinged, not from Earth. But from a bunker sealed before the collapse. Inside, an old transmission repeated. If this reaches you, Earth has risen. Do not run. Join them. The base AI replied. Confirmed. Sending payload from the moon's surface. 6 projectiles, launched prototype cores jettisoned toward Earth to awaken buried units. The past was not just waking, that it was calling reinforcements. Empire. Dropships. Planetfall begins as the sky darkened. Hundreds of drop pods broke through Earth's atmosphere. Inside them, elite bioengineered killers. Empire's best. They hit ground like meteors near cities, power stations, old battlefields. Civilians ran. Cities screamed. The war had started, but Earth was not alone. Rise of the siblings coordinated strike in the skies. Above, VANTA-0 led the charge. It moved faster than sound, burning across the clouds like a comet. From the sea, Leviathan fired energy blasts that split the waves. From behind mountains, VANTA-6 emerged wielding a particle cannon so large, it cracked its own armor from the shadows. Wraiths struck down enemy scouts before alarms could ring. They did not need orders. They remembered the plan from long ago. Jaden's broadcast inside a deep core bunker. Jaden stood in front of a camera. The entire planet watched. He spoke. These machines were buried for a reason, not because they were dangerous, but because someone knew the Empire would return. Now, they're awake. And this time, Earth fights back. Across the globe, cheers rose. Civilians grabbed weapons. Old veterans returned to duty. Humanity was standing again. Empire, Super Weapon, Enforcer Class, Dreadnought, Black Halo from orbit. Lord Nyrix unleashed his final card. A ship the size of a small moon appeared. Black Halo. It carried a planet burner cannon, designed to erase life in a single strike. Talrek watched as energy charged. Fire at the capital, he commanded. But before they could Vanta one, Oblivion appeared in front of the ship. Teleportation tech, unstable and raw. Its chest cracked open, revealing a black singularity core. Engage overload, it said, and then the screen went white. Aftermath. Earth holds the line. The explosion above the Earth blinded every satellite. When the smoke cleared, Black Halo was gone. So was Vanta 1. Jaden fell to his knees. He whispered, "You said you were a consequence. I didn't know you meant this, but the Empire fleet was retreating. Again. Earth had won a second time, but it had cost them one of their greatest machines, and the war wasn't over. Not yet." Final scene. A message between machines. Deep beneath the Pacific Ocean, a dormant machine stirred. It hadn't been contacted in 500 years until now. A signal came. "They're coming again. Are you ready?" A voice answered from the depths. "I never stopped being ready." The battle for Earth had paused, but peace had not returned. The Empire had retreated for now, but orbit was still burning. Cities were rebuilding, and under the oceans, a secret deeper than war was waking up, something even the prototypes didn't remember. Under the Pacific Facility ZEOFR beneath the sea floor, deeper than any human had ever dived, an ancient Terran structure blinked to life. Its walls were smooth obsidian. Its power core was older than Earth's modern cities. Inside its central chamber floated a device, not a weapon, not a machine, but a blueprint. A glowing sphere, spinning slowly. It whispered in machine code, but the meaning was clear. "Unlock me, and remember who you were." Earth Command, Emergency Transmission. General Kvek watched the signal from Facility 0. It pulsed in a pattern they couldn't decode. "We've got partial coordinates," a tech said. The facility was locked with prototype-era encryption. Jaden, now recognized as Earth's official prototype liaison, leaned forward. "That's not prototype code," he said. "That's pre-prototype." Kvek raised an eyebrow. "Pre-prototype before Vanta?" "Yes," Jaden whispered. "Before all of them." Flashback to 400 years ago. Hidden memory inside. VANTAO activated. It wasn't a battlefield, it was a lab. Scientists in armored suits worked in silence. One of them whispered, "If Earth falls, they will remember, but if Earth stands, they must forget." A woman touched the glowing sphere, the same one now active in Facility 0. "This blueprint isn't just technology, it's the origin of Terran resistance." She looked at the camera, eyes filled with fear. "Bury it deep. Lock it away. If they ever open it, it means the endgame has begun." Present-day mission to Facility 0. A deep-sea craft was launched, led by Jaden and a squad of elite engineers. They descended into darkness, pressure increasing with every second. Sharks swam past, then fled, sensing what waited below. When they reached the structure, they saw it fully for the first time, a black spire rising from the ocean bed. Not built. Grown. The doors opened for them, as if they'd been expected. Inside the core, the blueprint speaks. The glowing sphere hovered before Jaden. It pulsed when he stepped closer. Suddenly, his neural link activated and images flooded his mind. Planets burning, empires falling, and Earth standing alone. The voice inside said, "The prototypes were not the final plan, they were the beginning. The blueprint is the last key." Jaden whispered, "Key to what?" The answer shook his mind. "To awakening Earth's final defense. A creation the Empire never knew existed." Empire's spy signal intercepted in orbit. A hidden Empire drone captured the pulse signature from the facility. It transmitted the location directly to Lord Nyrix. He smiled coldly. They found the vault, he said. Then we strike before it opens. Within moments an elite strike force was dispatched. Their goal, destroy Facility 0 and erase the blueprint before it could unlock. The defense begins. Leviathan returns just as the Empire's drop pierced the ocean layers. Leviathan rose from the depths, its arms tore through the water like blades, intercepting the first wave of enemy mechs. Wraith appeared next, blinking between enemy ships, disabling their weapons before they fired. But something was wrong. The blueprint's energy was growing too fast. It wasn't just unlocking, it was calling something, the Skycrack's arrival of the unknown. Suddenly, the ocean above shattered with light. A new structure appeared in orbit, massive, spherical, covered in runes. But it wasn't Empire technology, and it wasn't Terran. The blueprint spoke. Again, final phase, engaged. Welcome, Origin Core. General Kevik stared at the screen. That wasn't built by us. Jaden nodded slowly. No, but it recognized us. Origin Core, the truth of the prototypes inside the facility. Jaden stood before a hologram of the galaxy. The blueprint connected directly to his thoughts, that it revealed the secret. The first humans to resist the Empire didn't build the prototypes alone. They had help from an ancient race lost to history. A race that believed in freedom, a race that left behind the Origin Core, to be found only if humanity proved worthy. Jaden trembled. We were never just fighting for survival. We were chosen. Empire attacks the core, but Lord Nyrix didn't care about prophecy. He arrived in a black vessel, larger than anything Earth had seen. He launched orbital missiles straight at Facility 0. Jaden ran, but before the impact, the blueprint shattered, not in destruction, but in completion. Earth's final weapon. All across the planet, the prototypes paused. They received the same message. Unlock complete and final protocol, Genesis. Buried beneath Earth's crust, something ancient and massive stirred. The ground trembled. A shape rose from deep inside the planet itself. Vento Omega, planet-born class. It wasn't just a mech, it was part of Earth itself, formed from core metal, powered by tectonic fusion. It stood taller than mountains, and it remembered everything. Vento Omega versus Empire. Lord Nyrix stared in horror as Vento Omega broke the surface. Its eyes burned with starlight. Its voice was old, deeper than time. You have come to burn our world. But Earth is no longer your prey. Earth is awake. It reached up and pulled the Empire's ship from orbit with gravity manipulation. No lasers, no bullets. Just raw planetary force. Nyrix screamed as his ship was crushed mid-air like paper. The war was ending. Not with surrender, but with evolution. Final scene. The quiet after hours later. Earth was quiet again. The prototypes stood still, guarding the skies. Jaden walked outside, looking up at the stars. General Kevik joined him. We've unlocked everything, she said. What now? Jaden smiled. We remember. That's enough. In the sky, Origin Core hovered silently, watching, waiting, for the next chapter of humanity to begin. Earth was still. The smoke had cleared. The Empire's fleet was gone, their capital ship destroyed, and their armies scattered. But peace didn't return, because far away, beyond the galaxy's edge, someone was watching, and they weren't afraid of Earth's prototypes. They were afraid of what Earth had become. Scene 1. Empire's inner core, the throne chamber. In a vast golden chamber, Empress Varelia sat on a throne made of star metal. Around her, high commanders knelt. One whispered, Earth has awakened. Vanta Omega. They crushed Lord Nyrix. Another added, the Origin Core has returned. The Empress stood. Her voice was cold fire. The mistake was letting them remember, but now, we will erase the memory itself. She turned to a hidden vault and pulled a black crystal. Send in the null tide. Seen to Earth orbit. Origin Core, distress above Earth. The massive Origin Core pulsed with energy. Suddenly, it began to flicker. Inside Earth's command center. Jaden stared at the data feed. Something's interfering with the Origin Core. EMP, Kevik asked. No, Jaden said. This is anti-consciousness tech. It's deleting memory, like erasing time. He turned pale. They're trying to unmake what we are. Scene 3. The nulltide arrived. Space cracked like glass. A dark fleet emerged. Jet black ships without windows, noise, or energy signatures. Their code name across ancient Terran war files. The null tide. Not just ships. Anti-life constructs. They didn't destroy, they erased, and they were headed straight for Earth. Scene 4. Prototypes start failing on Earth. The Vanta units began to act strangely, Leviathan paused mid-ocean patrol. Wraith began to blink in and out of reality. Even Vant Omega, the planet-burn colossus, began slowing its light dimming. Jaden screamed. They're targeting neural cores. They're unthreading memories. General Kevik grabbed a communicator. Activate fallback vaults. Protect the prototypes. But it was too late for some. 3 Vanta units collapsed. They weren't destroyed. They weren't forgotten. Scene 5. A hidden ally returned suddenly. A burst of light appeared near the moon. It was not Terran, not Empire, but ancient. From it stepped a single figure, tall, in armor of shifting colors. Its voice echoed. I am Silhar, of the Lost Architects. Rebuilt the first resistance with your ancestors. We return now because Earth remembers. Jaden stared in awe. You're real, Silhar nodded, and you are the last hope. Scene 6. The memory core plan inside Earth Command. Silhar revealed a forgotten defense. There is one thing Nulltide cannot erase: hankered memory, rooted in emotion, not code. Jaden blinked. Human memory. Exactly, said. If we link the prototypes to the minds of living humans' youth, they cannot be deleted. Kevik frowned. You want us to mentally bond with planetary-class war machines? Yes, Silhar said, because only your will can protect them now. Scene 7. The bonding ceremony in hidden caverns across Earth. People stepped forward. Engineers, scientists, veterans. One by one, they entered connection chambers. Jaden linked with Vant Omega, his mind filled with echoes, battles he'd never fought, sacrifices he'd never made, but he stood tall. I remember, and I choose to fight. Elsewhere, Kevik linked with WRAITH. Others bonded with Leviathan, Horizon, and more. Now, the prototypes didn't just move with AI, they moved with human memory, that couldn't be erased. Scene 8. The final battle begins. The Nulltide entered orbit. They began launching memory warp missiles, deleting entire cities from the minds of survivors. People forgot their own names. Tactical AI failed. History books blanked out mid-page. But then the anchored prototypes struck back. Leviathan rose, guided by a human's rage. Wraith blinked into their flagship, carving through the darkness. Jaden fused with Vant Omega, spoke across all frequencies. We are Earth, we do not forget, and we will not be erased. Scene 9. Empress's last card. Back in the Empire core, Empress Virelia watched with fury. They've fused with the machines. Then I'll take the machine mind itself. She activated the black crystal virus built to control Origin Core itself. In space, Origin Core began to glitch, but Silhar stepped forward. I was there when it was made. He pressed his hand to the command no done, sacrificed himself, burning his essence to cleanse the virus. Origin Core stabilized. Jaden shouted, we can win this. Scene 10. Earth strikes back with the last of their strength. The prototypes moved in unison. Vant Omega used gravity to fold the space around the Null flagship. Leviathan tore through their outer fleets. Wraith hijacked their internal memory banks. One by one, the Null ships flickered, not destroyed. Rewritten. Their memory cores were overwritten with Terran resistance logs. Now they remembered what Earth stood for, and they stopped fighting. Scene 11. Empresses defeat HFY final. Transmission reached Empress Virelia. Your tools failed, your silence failed. Earth stands, and it remembers everything. She turned in rage, but her own guards had begun to forget her. She screamed, then vanished. Final scene. The memory archive. Weeks later, Earth began building a monument not to war, but to memory. Inside the new Terran archive, every story, every name, every fallen prototype was recorded. Jaden stood before the glowing wall of names. He whispered, they tried to erase us, but we are still here. We are the memory. Behind him, Vant Omega stood like a statue, watching the stars, waiting for whatever came next. The war was over. The Empire was broken. The Nulltide had vanished into memory. Earth had survived, but the silence that followed victory wasn't peaceful. It was heavy, because now the galaxy was listening, and Earth had one last thing to say. Scene 1. Earth's council reformed in the ruins of the old World Union Hall. A new council gathered. There were no flags now, no borders, only one symbol, the prototype crest, half machine, half star. General Kevik stood before the council. Today, we don't debate revenge. We decide our future. Jaden sat nearby, quiet but alert. He had been changed, mentally fused with Vant Omega. He felt the planet's pulse. He could hear the sky. Scene 2. Across the galaxy, the silence breaks from distant systems. Transmissions began to arrive, not from the Empire. But from others. Faint signals. Alien languages Earth had never heard, all asking the same thing. Are you the world that resisted? Did you awaken the origin core? Can you help us? Jaden watched the messages appear one by one, hundreds, then thousands. Scene 3. Jaden's internal conflictual, and in a quiet chamber, Jaden connected to Vant Omega. He asked the question he feared most. Are we ready to lead? Vant Omega answered in thought form, slow and ancient. Leadership was never the goal. Memory was, truth was, survival was. Now you choose. Jaden paused, then whispered, then we speak. Scene 4. The message: a deep space transmission beacon was activated atop Mount Kilimanjaro, Earth's highest command relay. Jaden stood before the mic, Kevik beside him, Wraith and Leviathan visible behind them like silent guardians. The galaxy was listening. Jaden spoke to every world that hears this. We are Earth. We were buried. We were forgotten. But we remembered ourselves. And we chose not to die, he continued. We didn't fight to rule, we fought to exist. And we learned. No empire is eternal. But memory is. Scene 5. The ripple effect across the stars. Others listened. On a desert planet, rebel factions threw down empire banners. On a mining world, enslaved beings destroyed their overlords' control towers. And in a hidden nebula, a fleet of forgotten worlds began to rise together because Earth's signal had said one simple thing: you are not alone anymore. Scene 6. The last prototype awakens deep beneath Antarctica. A signal pulse. Unknown.unmapped. Jaden and Kevik arrive by aircraft. Inside the glacier, hidden for centuries, was Vantaprimus, the first of them all, unfinished, untouched, until now. The final blueprint, long thought erased, hovered above its frozen chest. Jaden stepped forward. His voice cracked. Do you want to wake up? The machine replied with a whisper. I was waiting for the world to be ready. Scene 7. Rebirth of Earth's fleet. Over the next months, Earth did not build new weapons. It built bridges. Prototypes were no longer just machines. They became guardians, walking beside humans in cities, fields, and space stations. The Terran archive grew, holding every story, every name, every memory. And Earth sent signals, not weapons, into the stars. Hope traveled faster than light. Scene 8. The Empire's ashes far away. The broken core of the Empire remained. No Empress, no command. Just ghosts. One surviving general intercepted Earth's message. He expected threats. He found forgiveness. Jaden's voice echoed, even in the dark. You were once light. Choose who you want to become now. The general dropped his weapon. And began to walk toward the stars. Scene 9. Jaden's goodbye. Months later, Jaden stood at the edge of Earth's orbit. The first deep void exploration ship, named Remember, was ready to launch. Kevik hugged him. You sure about this? Jaden smiled. There are others out there, like us, buried, forgotten, waiting. Wraith, Leviathan, and Vanta Omega stood nearby, silent, proud. As the ship lifted off, Jaden's final message echoed back. We were a lost world. Now we're a beacon. Final scene. Earth from afar, from far beyond the stars. Earth looked small, but a faint light blinked near it, the origin core, and beside it, the Terran fleet, glowing not with weapons, but with memory, because they had not just won, they had endured, and in the great silence of space, Earth's voice would never fade again.